I was walking through a dance studio with my grandmother, and I was like 7 or 8 years old, on the cusp there. And she was taking me to ballet class, actually. And my first coach, Nikolai Miho, who was from Bulgaria and was coaching an Acro sport team there in San Jose, California, which is still so wild to think about because it was still such a niche thing and kind of like a weird sport at that time. And he came up to my grandmother and he said, I think she would be perfect to do acro. Can she take a class? Do you think that she would be interested? And my grandma looked at me and she said, well, it's up to her. You're gonna have to ask her if she wants to do it. And I had seen it a little bit while I was going to my dance classes. I was in jazz, I was in tap, I was in ballet. And so I would see it ever so often. And I thought it was really incredible and really amazing. So I took a class, I think probably a week from there, and I was hooked. It was everything. I was in love. It was everything that I was meant to do, and yeah, and I've been doing it ever since.
That is so interesting because it was really kind of like a twist of fate or just, happenstance that you got to acrobatic sports. I don't know what to call acro. Let's call it acro.
Acrobatic gymnastics, sports acro. I mean, it has so many incarnations now, but I love that you say acro sport or sports acro because that's in my heart. That's the traditional, well, I mean, traditional, yeah, the traditional way of saying it. So
That's so interesting. So your first coach was Bulgarian.
yes.
So tell me about that, because I don't think people understand that mix, which is a very interesting mix. So how was it to have an Eastern European coach?
It was amazing and it was beautiful. And it's most of my coaches in acro have been from Eastern Europe and we're from Eastern Europe. So I'm super comfortable in and around that, lineage, in and around that culture. And he was a very beautiful, beautiful person. He was a very soft-spoken coach. He was very spritey. Yeah, he immigrated when he was a bit older to America. So that was also quite interesting. His story, his background was actually in tumbling too. So he actually didn't have a huge background in acro sports. So when he came to America, that's when he started to evolve to start to teach acro. So it was also a really kind of interesting evolution for him too. But I had the most beautiful time being raised and being coached and being loved by this very enthusiastic person with this thicker accent and all these different expressions that he had, and and it was so normal, and it's just so normal for me to this day. I mean, that's family. Bulgarian, Russian, Ukrainian, that's family to me, and that kind of traditional nuance of coaching and style. And I have to say too, he was just a very like bright, happy coach.
That's great. And it's wonderful. It makes a huge difference. It really does. And it's so nice when I see your smile when you talk about your coach. That's important. They're so influential in our lives, right? And it's just so nice. And I think people understand it because I had my coaches were from the Ukraine too, right? So we had the same kind of energy. It was the funniest thing, in Detroit. We had these Russian coaches and all these Black kids. And it was just like this, a little strange, but I must say, and I don't know if you know this, I think there was a little bit difference their view on Black athletes.
Yeah. Definitely. They they thought the world of me. Just my Ukrainian coaches, my Bulgarian coaches, they were enthralled. They thought we were just so magical. And I have to say too, my Eastern European coaches never made me feel any different ever. They trained us just equally.